Welcome to Rai News in English in collaboration with Rai Italia. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Rome is preparing for the Pope's funeral with a high-level security plan which leaves nothing to chance. Checks on the surface, in the air, and underground. Snipers and anti-drone bazookas placed in strategic positions. No-fly zones and giant screens have been also activated. And Rome airports have been reinforced to welcome delegations and a possible increase in passengers. At least 200,000 people are expected, 170 delegations, including heads of state. And one diplomatic problem being tackled is seating arrangements. Over 1,500 accreditation requests have been already received from journalists around the world. Our correspondent, Sara Nesci.
Ben oltre 50.000 persone hanno reso omaggio alla salma di Papa.
More than 50,000 people have already paid respects to Pope Francis, whose body lies in state inside St. Peter's Basilica. Meanwhile, preparations are moving steadily ahead. The cardinals have begun their general congregations. This morning marked the third meeting. Some early decisions are taking shape. Funeral masses will be held over 9 days from April 26th through May 4th, with a conclave expected to begin shortly after, likely on May 5th. A decision could also come today regarding Cardinal Becciu, who was convicted over the Vatican's controversial London property deal. The cardinals must now decide whether he'll be allowed to take part in the conclave. We saw several cardinals arriving this morning at Paul VI Hall. A few stopped to share memories of Pope Francis, saying his legacy won't be forgotten. Otherwise remained silent, like Cardinal Pizzaballa, considered among the possible successors, who arrived this morning from Jerusalem. That's the latest from St. Peter's.
At Montecitorio, the joint chambers paid homage to Pope Francis. Prime Minister Meloni then gathered in prayer next to the body of the pontiff in St. Peter's Basilica and remarked his calls for peace are a warning to responsibility. Details from Alberto Gioffreda.
Il rapporto pubblico è quello privato. Nei 7 minuti
In a 7-minute speech to the joint chambers of Parliament, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni paid tribute to her personal connection with Pope Francis, recalling the character of a man who spoke without barriers and made you feel unique, encouraging everybody never to lose their sense of humor. Meloni then shifted to the Pope as a political figure, a Pope who broke the mold, who stood with the marginalized. She emphasized how he saw politics as a mission driven by great principles and democracy as an exercise in freedom, and then his most powerful appeal, his unwavering call for peace.
Papa Francesco non ha smesso di invocare la pace.
Pope Francis never stopped calling for peace, an end to wars that destroy humanity, from war-torn Ukraine to the Middle East and across the Sahel. He continued to do so even when he knew that some might not understand him and that his words could be misinterpreted or twisted. His countless appeals for peace serve as a powerful reminder of our shared responsibility. Meloni also expressed her gratitude for the Pope's participation in the last G7 summit in Bari. As a global leader, he brought international attention to the pressing issues of protecting the environment and artificial intelligence. After her speech, she paid her respect to the Pope's body in St. Peter's Basilica, accompanied by Ministers Tajani and Piantedosi.
Opposition leaders Eli Schlein and Antonio Conte, in their speech during the commemoration, accused those who now pay homage to the deceased Pope of hypocrisy, but they have betrayed the message in their political action. Let's listen.
Ma quello che non merita è l'ipocrisia.
He doesn't deserve the hypocrisy of those who never listened to his call while he was alive, those who now try to bury his powerful message beneath a pile of hollow rhetoric. These are the same people deporting migrants, slashing aid to the poor, denying the climate crisis, and withholding healthcare from those who can't afford it. The best way to honor Pope Francis here today is to follow his example, to match words with action, to work for peace in Gaza and Ukraine, to fight inequality and poverty, to welcome rather than to turn away those fleeing war and prosecution, and changing the development model that has deepened poverty and brought our planet to the edge of collapse.
Nello scomposto teatro dell'ipocrisia dei vaniloqui,
this clumsy sitcom of hypocrisy and empty talk also stars those who ignored his cries against injustice, his warnings about hate speech, and the deadly logic of war. The best way to remember Pope Francis is not to let his teachings and personal story fade into oblivion. The best way to honor him is to allow ourselves to be uncomfortable and to take bold, meaningful actions.
Scelte conseguenti.
The president of the Union of Italian Jewish Communities, Noemi Di Segni, will attend Pope Francis's funeral on Saturday, a dutiful tribute from all Italian Judaism for what the pontiff represents in Italy and throughout the world, in the mutual commitment to dialogue and for every possible effort in affirming the culture of coexistence, read the note from the Union. Meanwhile, Senate Speaker Ignazio La Russa voiced the hope that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will send a message on the Pope's death after the Israeli Foreign Ministry deleted a message of condolences from its site. And in view of the next conclave, bookmakers, especially British ones, are already accepting bets on the name of the new Pope and where he will be from. Details from Alessandro Carboni.
Secondo I credenti è lo Spirito
The
Santo.
faithful believe it is the Holy Spirit who guides the conclave in choosing the new pontiff, but bookmakers, relying on statistics, probability theory, and economic logic, often come surprisingly close. While betting on such sensitive topics is prohibited by law in Italy, especially anything related to elections, foreign agencies, particularly British ones, are in full swing. They take bets not only on the names of the next pope, but also on the continent he will come from. Millions of dollars are wagered, and the bookmakers, always looking to win, fine-tune their odds with precision. Several platforms and algorithms consistently place Pietro Parolin at the top. The Vatican's Secretary of State, an experienced diplomat, is seen as the continuity candidate for Pope Francis's legacy. Next is Asia's Luis Antonio Tagle, Archbishop Emeritus of Manila, followed by conservative contender Peter Erdo, Archbishop of Budapest. Then Matteo Zuppi, president of the Italian Bishops' Conference, emerges as a compelling outsider with close ties to Francis. A third Italian in the running is Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Why these names? Several factors influence the odds: their role within the Curia, pastoral experience, geographical representation, interreligious standing, and, perhaps most significantly, their theological orientation, whether progressive or conservative. Odds are dynamic, shifting with the volume of bets and the latest Vatican whispers. But history offers a caution. Those considered favorites on the eve often don't emerge as pope. All the more so today, with a larger, more globally diverse conclave than ever before. As the old Vatican says goes, he who enters the conclave as a pope leaves as a cardinal. Back in 2013, very few people had Francis on their radar.
The Mottarone tragedy in May of 2021, the public prosecutor's office has filed a request to indict 5 people to trial who must answer for various charges of attack on transport safety, manslaughter, and negligent injury. When the cabin of the cable car connecting the city of Stresa with Mount Mottarone on the shore of Lake Maggiore collapsed, 14 people died. The only survivor was little Ethan, who was 5 years old at the time. A look at soccer. Coppa Italia, Milan-Inter finishes 3-0. Consensao's team grasps the final and will face the winner between Bologna and Empoli, which will be played today. In Serie A, 4 matches were played yesterday, which further opens up the possibilities for a number of teams to get a place in European tournaments. Lazio beats Genoa 2-0. Cagliari loses to Fiorentina 2-1. Torino defeats Udinese 2-0, while Juventus loses 1-0 to Parma. We thank Nick Porcelato for the translations. You can find the Italian news in English on our website, rainews.it. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same channel.